I was in a very inauthentic industry for years. All I wanted to do was to be wealthy. I wasn't creating the wealth that I wanted. I was not in service to humanity at all. I was really in service to myself. I wouldn't say I was being a particularly great father because I wasn't being a great leader. I wasn't a particularly good partner. I was just a little self-consumed, and I wasn't thinking about, I wanted to live a life of significance, and I wasn't really considering service. And then when I had this Perry Mason moment where, I realized that for 20 plus years, I'd poured all of my intellect and all of my knowledge and all of my time and all of my energy into predicting how soon people would die. And I decided to abruptly leave that career and spend the rest of my life investing in teaching people how to live longer, healthier, happier lives. For me, that authentic shift was the tipping point.
And get to that point, though, you were at a stable job making, I'm sure, decent amount of income.
Yeah, I was doing really
you're
well.
happy. What, for everyone that's listening, everyone that's watching this, you need to have some guts. You need to have some chops to say, I'm willing to leave that. I'm going to take a gamble on myself. I have a family to support. If this goes wrong, I could be in trouble. I mean, you are a great success story. You proved that time and time again. If you believe in yourself, you have the hustle, the grit, the motivation, and the authenticity to actually do something positive, it works out. But a lot of people fail.
Yeah.
So what's the advice you would give to people that are on the precipice of that shift, but are like, I don't know if I could do it because maybe I don't believe in myself enough. I don't want to risk my family's well-being, because that's a big deal for a lot of people.
I guess my advice, and I'm really thought long and hard about this, but I think you can find your purpose in your pain, right? Mm-hmm. Don't adopt somebody else's purpose. Solve a problem that you have in your life. And I had a big, self-esteem, self-worth, contribution issue. As you start to get older, you're like, what's the meaning of my life? Like, what am I really doing here? Am I just picking up a paycheck? And I think when I have the podcast, The Ultimate Human, and I think the greatest guests that I have on the podcast are the ones that have solved the problem in their life, and they went on some kind of major journey. And because of that journey, they're having a massive impact on humanity. Maybe they're a doctor, maybe they're a PhD or a researcher, but they solved the problem in their life. They had Lyme disease and they overcame it, and now they're like, the greatest expert on Lyme. So find the problem and turn that into your purpose. And I think the greatest piece of advice I was ever given, my dad told me one time, if you want to shrink your problems, grow your purpose.
Wow.
And all of the other problems in my life shrank, the risk of not making rent, the risk of not making payroll, the fact that we were, 60 days away from missing our mortgage payment. Those were all the problems going on in our life at the time. How could we get somebody to walk through the door and pay $1 for our service when we opened in a strip mall in Naples, Florida. And we just shrunk those problems constantly by focusing on the purpose. And we do it with the team all the time now. It's like, what is our mission? What is our purpose? Why are we here? And when you start meetings off like that, problems shrink, right?
Yeah, that's so powerful. And I want to repeat it once again, like, find your purpose in your pain. Like, that's very deep. And a lot of people don't even know where to start to find that purpose. And you just summarize it so nicely right there. So thank you.
And, I didn't even know that the term wealth was derived from the, well-being. To be well in being is to be wealthy. That's where the term well-being comes from. And so, it's, as I look back now, it was like when I made that shift to focus on people's well-being, that's when the wealth came. And I think if you really want to add passion to that, then you find something that you would otherwise do for free and you monetize it.
So let's talk about the wealth a little bit. Let's get into the finance and the fun of it all.
The money man. Let's go.
So, look, at the end of the day, while I appreciate the words and it's awesome, something's got to keep the lights on, right? Like you're creating a business. That's not a joke. That's a serious. You have to hire employees, have to understand marketing, distribution, getting orders on time, making sure profitability is there. That's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So going from the world that you were in, which would sound like you were on your own, making your decisions, versus creating a company, managing employees, that's a blessing in itself to have to handle.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. So how did you shift from that to entrepreneurship and getting your own business while you still practice and preach what you love?
Well, I mean, I didn't decide to open a nonprofit. You know, my heart wasn't in that bad a shape. But, you know, I came home one day and I told it was girlfriend at the time, became my fiance and now my wife, who I started the business with. But I remember the day I came home.
You can say her name, Sage.
Sage.
She's amazing.
Sage working her. Yeah.
I love her. She's great.
She's here somewhere running around. She's actually in the cold plunge, I think.
Oh, okay.
She was in the sauna when I jumped on the podcast.
So she's got all the wealth.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You're still working.
She's like, you're doing great, babe. I'm getting in the
Keep
sauna.
hustling, boy.
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm going to do a video of me in the sauna. But, you know, I told her that I was quitting my job and I wanted to start a wellness company. And she was like, I wanted to start a wellness clinic. And I'm not licensed to practice medicine. I mean, I'm a human biologist. I'm not licensed to give medical advice or to practice medicine. So I had to go find a doctor and then train the doctor and get him to put his license on the line and then get a PA and a nurse practitioner. And, you know, we opened in this little strip mall. But I don't think there's anything wrong with, you know, being wealthy or wanting to be wealthy. I think the Bible says the love of money is the root of all evil, not money. But so I always envisioned, but I just knew what I didn't want to do. And I also knew that I wouldn't do my previous job for free. But when I opened this wellness clinic, it's like when patients, you know, or clients started coming through the door and I started talking about what we would do, it was just so deeply satisfying. And you can do that with working out. You can do it with fixing cars. You can do it with, you know, stream racing. You know, you find that thing that you would otherwise do for free and somehow monetize that. I believe that the money comes because the message is authentic and the amount of business that it attracts, right? Like I don't really feel like I really work a day in my life. I'm excited to be here. I could talk like this for hours. This doesn't feel like work to me. And so, you know, when we started the business, you know, about 5 months into the business, we realized that, you know, my wife, she wasn't my wife at the time, she is now, thank God, but she came to me one day and was like, hey, babe, I'll run the numbers. We're 90 days away from either missing payroll or missing our mortgage payment. And we can't do both. So you decide, are we going to miss the mortgage payment or are we going to miss payroll? I go, well.
Can I guess which one it was?
Yeah.
Mortgage payment.
Yeah. I said, well, we're not missing payroll. Mm-hmm. And so we ended up having to fire sale, you know, our house. We moved from a beautiful 2-story, 5,500 square foot, gorgeous home in Riverstone in Naples to a tiny little 1-story rancher. My kids hated it. And kids came out of private school, they went into public school. And, but I just knew inherently that the message was right. Like just the frequency that I was getting back from people, the fact that I would just go to bed so satisfied, I'd wake up every day and go, fuck yeah, another day. I just knew we were on the right path.
And I'm obviously sorry that happened to you, but I can guarantee that hunger it put in your belly and that fire, you can't get that any other way.
When your back's like against the wall. I mean, I hear guys talk about burning the bridges. I mean, I didn't burn them on purpose. They caught fire on their own. Right. You know? I mean,
there was no turning back.
I wish I had a little bridge to get back, but you know, we didn't have a whole lot of savings. We had done pretty well for ourselves. We didn't have a whole lot of savings, but you know, when we did the build out for the clinic, it was supposed to take 9 months. Of course, it took 18 months. And then you're starting to pay rent, and you don't have a business, so you're paying rent and overhead and electricity and contractors, and then you know you got to get somebody to walk through the door. And I'm like, well, I'm a human biologist, not licensed to practice medicine, but I want to tell you how you can live a longer life. People are like,
and if you said this stuff like 7 or 8 years ago, people would think you're crazy. Like I feel like social media has made such a big difference in. You know, there was a point where you're on my feed all the freaking time. I'm like, this dude shows up all the time. Why is he here all the time? And the marketing is amazing. But what I loved most about you, and that's why I became one of your patients, is the authenticity and knowing that you love what you do versus a lot of people are out there that are just trying to push supplements.